I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. Say it with me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening and welcome to another edition of the Douglas Ducote Show. You had many places you could be tonight. You chose to be here with me, and for that I am forever grateful. Tonight's lead story is pretty damn scary, folks. Not being reported on very much by the mainstream media, which I'm not quite sure why. Something that I've been reporting on for quite some time now, something that's concerned me, and that is Russia being hell-bent on using nuclear weapons to end the war in Ukraine. Threatening to use nuclear weapons, not only against Ukraine, but threatening to use nuclear weapons against anyone in NATO, especially those that are supplying weapons to the Ukrainian military. Which leads us to tonight's story as to how they might just actually go about doing this. The world is bracing for a catastrophe in Ukraine after Russia placed bombs on the nuclear reactors there. The fears revolve around the potential of a nuclear disaster involving the nuclear power plant in Ukraine, which threatens to affect billions of lives. Ukrainian officials raised concern that Russian President Vladimir Putin has had his troops place bombs on reactors at the power plant, which experts warn could lead to a catastrophe even more devastating than the infamous Chernobyl disaster that happened in Russia. On Tuesday, military chiefs in Ukraine revealed that explosive devices were placed on the roofs of the third and fourth reactors at the power plant. Intelligence reports also suggested that Russian soldiers who have occupied the plant since the early days of the war have been ordered to leave immediately, indicating that an attack may be imminent. Nuclear experts have expressed alarm, stating that a majority or a major blast at this power plant would impact billions of people across 40 separate countries. The resulting exclusion zone of 30,000 kilometers would be equivalent to 10 Chernobyl disaster zones, rendering it uninhabitable for the next 100,000 years. Approximately 2 million people would need to be resettled if this becomes reality. And then what's going to be the response from NATO? If they blow these reactors, what happens next? Well, it'll be a nuclear disaster. I'm going to tell you what happens next. NATO launches an all-out attack on Russia. And then the nuclear powers start trading nuclear weapons at each other. And then that becomes the end of civilization as we know it. I've been saying from day one, no matter what side of the fence you sit on with the Ukraine war, we are treading in some horrible times right now. The Biden administration has done nothing, zero, to calm this down in any way, shape, or form. In fact, they keep pushing the red line that Vladimir Putin keeps putting down further and further away. They keep crossing them. And it's only a matter of time now. The best case scenario would be that somebody on the inside of Russia takes out Vladimir Putin. That would be the best case scenario. Otherwise, I don't see this ending well for mankind. And that's just my personal belief. Experts are baffled by the Biden administration invoking the Hatch Act. The Hatch Act would ask whether President Biden or his son owned the cocaine found at the White House. The culprit behind the White House's July snowstorm is yet to be found. The Biden administration isn't answering whether the president or Hunter Biden owns the Independence Day cocaine. It's been dominating the headline news this week. White House Deputy Press Secretary Andrew Bates was asked during a press conference today whether the president can deny that he or his son owned the cocaine found at the White House, a charge that's also been leveled by former President Donald Trump. Bates invoked the Hatch Act, which is legislation that prohibits federal employees from talking about or using federal resources for campaign purposes to dodge the question. I don't have a response to that because we have to be careful about the Hatch Act, Bates responded. What I will say is that I notice there does seem to be some increased frustration coming from that corner in general, and I think it's probably rooted in the contrast between their substantive policies records. Bates then compared Biden's political policy records of his predecessor's records. Attorney Bradley P. Moss told Fox News Digital he is candidly at a loss as to why Mr. Bates believes the Hatch Act is relevant with respect to addressing the question about this cocaine, because it's not relevant. The Hatch Act has nothing to do with this. This is the White House trying to find a way to not answer the question that I think we all know by now the answer to. I could envision other legitimate bases for declining to respond, such as respecting the integrity of an ongoing investigation. We've heard that a million times. We didn't hear it on this one. But references to the Hatch Act seemed misplaced, Moss continued. Former Bush administration ethics chief Richard Painter, who ran for Congress as a Democrat last cycle, told Fox News Digital that he has given lectures at the White House and published articles on the Hatch Act, and the bill does not cover snorting cocaine. He went on to say, "What the fuck does the Hatch Act have to do with cocaine?" Painter told Fox News Digital in an email, "This is the most ridiculous invocation of the Hatch Act I've ever seen." Painter added that even if someone on Biden's campaign were high as a kite, the Hatch Act would not cover the cocaine in question. Users online also blasted the White House over invoking the Hatch Act to dodge the question, which is exactly what they did, because they know who it belongs to. Odd that Bates pivoted to the Hatch Act and doesn't deny the question. Conservative commentary Steve Guest tweeted, conservative journalist Jerry Dunley equipped that Bates was referring to the famous Hatch Act provision, which doesn't allow you to say White House cocaine doesn't belong to the president or his son. The same White House who said MAGA from the briefing room podium therefore violated the Hatch Act. Republican State Leadership Conference Communication Director Mike Joyce wrote, "Can't make this stuff up," he added. Users bore down on the White House over their dodge. On Sunday, a member of the Secret Service found the cocaine in the West Wing of the White House in an area used by guests and staff, leading to the evacuation of the building and an emergency response. President Biden was away at the time. Now, if you believe for 1 second that the Secret Service does not already know who this blow belongs to, then you are brain dead and hooked to machines in a hospital. They know exactly who this coke belongs to, because there are several cameras in that room. Several. In fact, there's more video cameras in the White House and outside the White House than probably through most of DC. You can't go anywhere other than the bathroom or the actual Oval Office itself, because we all know that if there was a camera in there, well, we would have the back of someone's head while they're on their knees in front of Bill Clinton. Next, it was in a baggie, is what they're saying. So therefore, they already lifted the fingerprints. They know who this belongs to. They know exactly who it belongs to. And so do you. Just in case you need any more proof that Hunter Biden is the owner of this Coke, here's how the White House press briefing went down today. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre was barraged with questions from reporters about the cocaine that was allegedly found in the West Wing over the weekend. Can you give any more details on whether the Secret Service found the cocaine in the West Wing and how it was found? Associate Press reporter Josh Boat kicked off the line of inquiries. So, as you know, this is under the preview of the Secret Service, Jean-Pierre responded. They are currently investigating what happened over the weekend. So I'll refer you to the Secret Service on all of this. As you know, the President and First Lady and their family were not here this weekend. As you all reported on this, and as you also know, they left on Friday and returned just yesterday, she continued. Where was this discovered? In a heavily traveled area where many White House visitors are in the West Wing. I would sure even more specific West Wing visitors come through this particular area. I just don't have any more to share. And that, by the way, is a lie. Because guests do not travel through this particular area, nor do they use the door that's right there by it to enter the area. When asked by Reuters correspondent Steve Holland about whether President Biden himself has expressed he wants to get to the bottom of the cocaine gate, Jean-Pierre reiterated that the Secret Service was investigating the matter and that the White House is confident the agency will find out how this happened. Is the White House conducting its own internal investigation? ABC News correspondent Rachel Scott asked. Later pressing, can you explain to the American people who would have access to the West Wing on this type of tour and what type of protocols were in place? Jean-Pierre deferred both questions to the Secret Service. I wonder if the cocaine episode has prompted the White House to ask the Secret Service to review its security protocols, CBS News correspondent Weijia Zhang said. Something Jean-Pierre said they'd wait until the investigation is complete. Wang Jing then asked if the episode shines a light on the fact that illegal substances can be brought into the White House and what's preventing a visitor from bringing substances like anthrax, a question which Jean-Pierre also dodged. CBS radio correspondent Steve Pronoy later pressed the White House about which entrance the cocaine allegedly came in from, and NBC News correspondent Mike Maloney asked what the specific scoop of the Secret Service investigation and whether criminal prosecution is the end goal, which she also declined to answer. Wall Street Journal correspondent Catherine Lucy asked Jean-Pierre if White House staffers will undergo drug testing as a result of the investigation. Jean-Pierre responded by saying White House staffers are already subject to rigorous guidelines that include drug testing. How determined is the president to get to the bottom of who brought illegal drugs into the White House? Fox News White House correspondent Jacqueline Hinch asked. Secret Service is getting to the bottom of it, and that's what matters, and it's under their preview, Jean-Pierre responded. But the question is, how determined is the president? He pushed back. The president thinks it's very important to get to the bottom of this, she replied. That's why the Secret Service, which is under their preview, is looking into this. And they're going to look into what happened this weekend. So the president thinks this is incredibly important to get to the bottom of this. Anonymous law enforcement official told Politico on Wednesday that the culprit was unlikely to be discovered. Well, if it turns out to belong to Hunter Biden, that is exactly what will happen. We'll be more than likely to be told it's unable to figure out who it belongs to, that the cameras were not operating in that area, that they were unable to lift any fingerprints off the baggie, and that'd be your foolproof positive that the cocaine belonged to Hunter Biden. Need I say more about this? Well, I think we should continue to talk about Hunter just a little bit. Something that bothers me as a parent more than this cocaine issue does. Let's talk about deadbeat parents and those who support them. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre shut down a reporter's question yesterday concerning President Biden's 7th grandchild, the daughter of his son Hunter Biden, who was also, they both refused to acknowledge. Why? Because she was a stripper. This is when he was doing lots of coke and blow and meth and crack and all that crazy shit he was doing. And he got this stripper pregnant. DNA has already proven it's his kid. During the daily White House press briefing, Jean-Pierre was asked specifically about a Saturday New York Times story centered on the 4-year-old girl that they named Navy Joan Roberts, and whether Biden acknowledged her as his granddaughter, even though the two have never met. There was a story in the New York Times over the weekend about Hunter Biden's daughter in Arkansas. Does the president acknowledge this little girl as his granddaughter? The reporter asked. I don't have anything to share from here, Jean-Pierre simply responded, continuing the White House tradition of refusing to answer questions pertaining to Roberts. According to the Times report, Biden aides have been told to say publicly that the president only has 6 grandchildren, admitting the little girl Roberts. On numerous occasions where Biden has talked about his grandchildren, he claims to only have 6, including a White House Take Your Child to Work Day event that took place this past April. I have 6 grandchildren. I'm crazy about them, and I speak to them every single day. Not a joke, he said at the event. Last week, Hunter settled his Arkansas child support case with Roberts, London Alex Roberts, ending a year-long dispute on child support. A Thursday court filing showed Hunter agreed to his daughter having some of his paintings, and the mother of the child agreed to withdraw her counterclaim to change the child's last name to Biden. So, just to be clear, Hunter Biden is a deadbeat who doesn't support his kid. And Joe Biden is a deadbeat grandfather who doesn't support his grandchild. How pathetic is that? Come voting time, this should be a no-brainer for those that believe in family values. It should be no brainer for those that believe parents should support their children, and that deadbeat parents should be put in jail. You either support your kid or go get your butt handed to you by Bubba in a jail cell. I've got absolutely zero respect for any man or woman who refuses to support the child that they brought into this world. The CDC, Center for Disease Control, official website, published advice and guidance for trans and non-binary individuals on how to chest feed their infants. The same people who lied to us for 3 years about the jab. Yeah, that's CDC. In sections of the Major Health Institute guidance on breastfeeding, It contained information for those who have had much of their breasts removed in gender reassignment surgeries, or for biological men taking hormones to grow breasts on how to feed their newborn children. However, several doctors criticized the guidance, not simply because the CDC has appeared to guide biological men in how to breastfeed children, but because they claim the CDC has failed to gauge the risk posed to children drinking milk products by chemicals that are used in the gender reassessment medical operation. In the CDC's website section on health equality considerations, found under its infant and young child feeding toolkit, the center declared that transgender and non-binary gender individuals may give birth and breastfeed or feed at the chest feed. It's also stated that the gender identity or expressions of transgender individuals is different from their sex at birth, and that the gender identity or non-binary gender individuals does not fit neatly into either man or woman. Under the CDC's website section on breastfeeding, specifically an entry covering breastfeeding for those that have undergone breast surgery, the institution mentions chest feeding. The CDC posts the question, can transgender parents who have had their breast surgery or their breasts surgically breastfed or chest fed their infants, can they? In response, the answer was yes, followed by an explanation. Some transgender parents who have had their breast top surgery may wish to breastfeed or chest feed, a term used by transgender and non-binary parents. Their infants, the CDC website states, healthcare providers working with the families should be familiar with medical, emotional, and social aspects of gender transitioning to provide optimal family-centering care and meet the nutritional needs of the infant. The post added that these transgender parents may need help with maximizing milk production, supplementing with pasteurized donor human milk or formula, medication to induce lactation, or avoiding medications that inhibit lactation, suppressing lactation for those choosing not to support or chest feed, and finding appropriate lactation management support, peer support, and or emotional support. According to the Daily Mail, this advice may apply to biological men who can produce their own breast milk by taking hormone drugs, which mimic the changes that happen to a biological woman's body during the late stages of pregnancy. However, the outlet noted that the FDA's warning that one of these drugs, I don't even know how to pronounce this, I'll spell it, DOMPRIDONE, can pass into breast milk in small amounts and can sometimes give babies an irregular heartbeat as a result. They spoke to multiple doctors who criticized the CDC for not mentioning the health risk posed to infants at their chest feeding from biological men transitioning with female mimicking hormones. Executive Director of the Conservative Association of American Physicians and Surgeons, Dr. Jane Ornick, told the Daily Mail, the CDC has a responsibility to talk about the health risk, but they have been derelict in doing that. She also claimed we have no idea what the long-term effects on the child will be if trans parents are using all kinds of labeled hormones or off-label hormones, meaning drugs that are being used in a different purpose than for what they were intended. Dr. Stuart Fisher, a New York-based internal medicine physician, told the Daily Mail that it's very hard to believe that the breast milk naturally occurring in a biological female is the same as the breast milk induced into a biological male. He also noted that it is uncertain how the latter of the breast milk would affect infants, asking, if it's been tested only a handful of times, how would we know the long-term effects? The short term is one thing, but the long-term effects in terms of physical and mental illness, it's an emerging field, to put it mildly. I might add that it falls directly into the category of the long-affected effects of the jab. And it's also a matter of time before liberal and social media platforms, like this one and Facebook, for instance, say that Anyone questioning this batshit crazy science that they're pulling out of their ass is putting out medical information, just like they did with the jab. Couldn't make this shit up if you tried. You just couldn't. It's absolute insanity what's happening across this globe right now. University of Florida quarterback Jalen Keena accepted a plea deal yesterday following his November arrest on 2 counts of distributing of child pornography. That's right. The University of Florida's quarterback was busted distributing child porn. He pleaded no contest to 2 counts of disorderly conduct and had the 5 felony child pornography charges dismissed. I want to start off by apologizing to my family, my friends, and those that care about me, he said. Their support through this whole ordeal has meant a lot to me. The hardest thing about this whole process is seeing how it's affected them. The valuable lesson that I've learned through this whole deal has been very helpful. I'm looking forward to applying those things and moving forward. Keenan was a 6 months probation for each count. He's also the son of former NFL quarterback John Keenan. He was arrested back on November 30th of 2022. The investigation began in June when police received a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children that an image of a child sexual abuse was shared online via Discord, an instant message social platform. A search of Keena's phone found 3 additional photos of 2 underage nude girls in a shower, which he had saved to his phone earlier that year. What we got here today is a result that's fair and the right results. His attorney, Ron Kowalskis, told the Orlando Sentinel following the verdict. Obviously, the state agrees, and we feel good about that. But you wouldn't feel good about it if he was sharing pictures of your underage daughter. This is going to give Javelin an opportunity to move to the next steps, wherever that happens to be. Keenan was dismissed from the Florida football team days after his arrest, as he should have been. There should be no plea deals for those that abuse children. There should be no plea deals for those that distribute or make child pornography. That should be a no-brainer in our justice system, but it's not. Once again, who you know and how much money you have dictates on what the outcome will be. Look how long Jeffrey Epstein got away with it. The Delaware-based federal judge to preside over Hunter Biden's arraignment later this month is facing mounting pressure by former Department of Justice officials to reject that plea deal. As a majority of the nation says the president's son received a sweetheart treatment. In a poll that questioned issues about 53-year-old Biden agreement to plead guilty to certain tax charges and enter a diversion program on a gun charge to avoid jail time, Rasmussen report said on Wednesday that 55% of likely U.S. voters disagree with the deal prosecutors made with the president's son. That poll comes 1 week after former head of the DOJ's tax division, Elaine O'Connor, penned an opt-in in the Wall Street Journal headline, "Throw Hunter Biden's plea deal in the trash." The judge to whom that agreement is presented will be on July 26 in order to consider rejecting it, O'Connor wrote. Noting the agreement struck between Biden and U.S. Attorney for the District of Delaware, David C. Weiss, gives credence to recent claims made by the IRS whistleblower, Gary Shapley. Shapley and current IRS agents who have worked for more than 14 years with the agency and oversaw part of the investigation into Biden said he was barred from talking or taking certain investigative steps that may have led to the president himself, according to an interview with CBS on June 27th. Shapley alleged those roadblocks included being barred from bringing charges in other jurisdictions, and that he was denied special counsel status by the Department of Justice. Of course, because they're going to do everything in their power to protect the president and his son. O'Connor focused on the part of Shapley's testimony to Congress with the whistleblower claimed on October 7th last year that Weiss admitted he was not in the final decision maker with respect to the changes that may be brought against Biden. It was his statement that shocked and troubled Mr. Shipley, such that he braved the consequences of becoming a whistleblower and sought legal counsel on how to do so. Shapley contends the Weiss support charges Biden with felonies for evading taxes on $2.2 million, but the Weiss didn't have the authority to bring those charges in California or Washington, D.C., and he was denied special counsel status that would allow him to proceed in those jurisdictions. Attorney General Merrick Garland has said there was no interference despite Shapley's refusal to back down. Weiss has since reiterated he was given ultimate authority over the investigation, including or deciding where, when, and whether to file charges. Weiss pushed back on claims that the investigation was impeded. According to a letter sent by House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, at the appropriate time, I welcome the opportunity to discuss these topics with the committee in more detail and answer questions related to the whistleblower's allegations, consent with law and department policy, Weiss added in his Friday letter. Also, last Friday, one of Biden's attorneys, Abe Lowell, pushed back against any attempts to improperly undermine the judiciary process, including the case of the president's son. Because, it's not happening right in front of our face. We don't really see that. What Joe and Hunter's doing and what's coming out of all these House hearings, that's not really happening. That's just smoke and mirrors by those MAGA Republican conservatives. They're just out to get innocent people. They're doing great things to make this country a wonderful place for us all to live in transparency and sing kumbaya and shove flowers out our ass. This is absolute insanity that the Department of Justice and the FBI have been weaponized to support this corrupt administration. To any objective eye, your actions were intended to improperly undermine the judiciary process that had been scheduled in the case, Lowell wrote to White House Ways and Means Chairman Jason Smith. After the announcement of Biden's likely probation-only plea deal surrounding 2 misdemeanor tax crimes and 1 gun crime, numerous legal experts suggest the president's son was giving peripheral treatment in the eyes of the law. The Department of Justice treated Hunter Biden like the thousands of no-names who get prosecuted. He would be looking at decades in federal prison. Yes, I said decades, tweeted former Utah U.S. Attorney Brett L. Tolan, who worked for the Bush and Obama administrations from 2006 to 2009. But other former prosecutors like Ratino Moratti pushed back on assertions that the young Biden was let off easy, tweeting, if anything, Hunter Biden was treated harshly. Those crimes are rarely charged. What the fuck? Did you just wake up from under a rock somewhere on another planet? Are you shitting me? Those that don't have a shit ton of money for attorneys that cheat on their taxes, go to fucking prison. Those that have guns in their possession when they're drug addicts and they're not allowed to have them, go to prison. And this is 2 of those cases mixed together. And he got a slap on the wrist. The judge, it will be up to the judge, period, plain and simple. On July 26th, the courthouse in Wilmington, Delaware, to accept the plea deal or reject the plea deal. And speaking on behalf of, I say, most Republicans and conservatives, I say reject the plea deal. What makes Hunter Biden any more special than me or my neighbor or you? What? Nothing. And from everything we've seen so far, with what's coming out about Burisma and Ukraine and China and pay for play to get access to Biden when he was vice president, and all the documents of all, Trump had them in one location, Biden had them all over the freaking place. 2 separate office buildings, 2 separate homes, a garage. All that's just, no, don't look there. No, don't pay no attention to that. Can things get any more idiotic? Sure. Let me help you understand how that is. Grammy award-winning singer Jill Scott changed the lyrics to the Star-Spangled Banner to criticize the United States of America during her recent performance at the Essence Fest. If you don't know what the Essence Fest is, Google it. 99.9% of everybody there happened to be black. The move sparked backlash on social media. Scott changed the lyrics of the beloved national anthem from "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming" to "Oh, say can you see by the blood in the streets that this place doesn't smile on you, colored child, whose blood built this land with sweat in their hands," the lyrics continued, "but will die in this place and your memory erased. Oh, say, does this truth hold any weight? This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slaves." Video of Scott's performance is widely circulated on Twitter, and you can also see it right here on YouTube if you care. The safest, most opportune, rich place on the planet for black people is the United States of America, tweeted podcaster Jason Whitlock. From the 3 Marxist lesbians who started BLM to Jill Scott, the black monarchy keeps writing bad checks, turned bitching and grifting into an art form. This is how horrible this country has been to its colored children, slaves. YouTube Mike Howard tweeted, along with an image showing Scott's net worth at $12 million. Florida congressional candidate Laverne Spencer also criticized Scott's woke version of the national anthem. R&B singer Jill Scott did a woke rendition of the national anthem where she changed the lyrics to speak about how oppressed black people are, Spencer wrote. She says, "This is not the land of the free, but the home of the slaves." For reference, Jill Scott's net worth is estimated at $12 million and is likely much higher. In what way is she oppressed? Others praise Scott's controversial song, including Essence, a black woman's lifestyle magazine. "Everyone, please rise for the only national anthem we will be recognizing from this day forward. Jill Scott, we thank you. Hashtag Essence Fest." Well, I tell you what. I whether it was an honor or a privilege or a curse, have had the opportunity to travel all over God's earth. I've been to just about every state in America, and I have personally stepped my boots on the ground in most countries: Europe, Southeast, Southwest Asia, Central South America. And I can tell you this much for a fact. America, hands down, is still a melting pot for African Americans, for Hispanics, and for anyone that wants to come here. And if we're to believe, as BLM and Antifa, for instance, want us to believe, and Miss Jill Scott, about how bad it is here, well, if you got $12 million, why the fuck don't you leave? If I thought that I was living in a country that wanted to enslave me and I had $12 million, I'd get the fuck out of here. But you're not. And neither are your rich friends like Colin Kaepernick, who started all this silly shit about hands up, don't shoot, and police brutality against innocent black youth. It's pathetic. It's absolutely pathetic. If you don't like it here, get the fuck out of here. This is still, regardless of our problems, and trust me, we got plenty, this is still the best place on this earth. Period. Hands down. You try going and spreading your ideology in any other country out there, to include Canada, for crying out loud, and see what happens to you. See how far you're allowed to go, especially in Mexico or Central or South America, Southeast, Southwest Asia. Go to those countries and try and spread your hateful ideology. You won't do that because you know what the results will be. They will imprison you, beat you, or take you from breathing oxygen. But we don't do that here in America. No, men and women fought, bled, and died on the battlefield for people like you to make $12 million and spread your hateful rhetoric and say hateful things about our flag and about our country and about our forefathers. All you black NFL players and NBA players that took a knee during the national anthem, why are you here? And better yet, what are you doing to help the black youth in the inner cities of America that are suffering and dying? Gun violence, shooting each other down. Hell, since I've been on the air tonight for the past 44 minutes, at least 10 black people have been killed by other black people across this country. And the numbers just keep increasing. My hometown, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, that's run by a Democrat mayor for years, also a Democrat state. We got a Democrat governor. Every single 24 hours, at least 5 people are shot and at least 3 die. And they're all black. Same thing in New Orleans. Same thing in Memphis. Same thing in Nashville, Tennessee. Same thing in Oakland, in San Francisco, in New York, in Washington, D.C., in Philadelphia. You name the place. Except for Dallas, because I recently reported on that finally the Democrats have a mayor in Dallas that said, I'm not going to put up with this shit. I'm going to give my law enforcement agencies what they need to crack down on this violence and make it stop. While the rest of them say, oh no, that's oppressing. No. Were black people oppressed in this country years ago? Bet your ass they were. Was there racial discrimination in this country? Bet your ass there was. Was slavery wrong? 100% hands down. But today in America, you have the ability to become the president of the United States if you're black. Ask Barack Obama. You have the ability to become the head of the Department of Justice. Ask Eric Holder. Ask Loretta Lynch. In America, you have the opportunity to become a mayor, a governor, the head of police departments, sheriffs. Hell, in America, you have the ability as a black person to be the head of the Department of Defense. What am I missing here? For those of you who want to spread this hateful rhetoric that the white man is suppressing you, that America is suppressing you, you're a goddamn liar because it's not happening. Did it happen years ago? Yes. And it was wrong. And we did away with that. Are there still some racist white people walking around this planet? Of course there are. And so are black. And so are Hispanic. And every culture out there has its own little element of racist bigots. But they want you to believe, and when I say they, I'm talking about these millionaire black people in America that are outspoken about all this crap, and BLM and Antifa, that we're hanging black people from trees every day and we're lighting torches in their crosses in their front yards and we're running around wearing hoods and attacking their kids. None of that's happening. The days of the KKK are done. Do they still exist in small portions of America? You're right. They do. You want to see some racist bigot bullshit? Right here on YouTube. Google or put in the search bar the new Black Panther Party and listen to what they say. That's where your racists are. That's where your bigots are. But they expect the people they're preaching to, which are the white liberal youth, to believe their shit. And they do, because they're too fucking stupid to do their own homework and figure out that they're being lied to. Nope. They just want to believe it. Suck it all in like it's the gospel. And it's not. When was the last time? When was the last time you saw on your television set watching the news or in the newspaper or any social media site or news media outlet, hundreds of white people gathered around torching places, looting places, attacking police officers? I haven't seen it. I mean, I've seen it with Antifa. We've already discussed what those little fuckers are all about. But do you see a bunch of black people a bunch of white people burning down their cities like what they did in Ferguson? They burnt down their own goddamn city, for crying out loud. And torched police cars. Looted buildings, businesses. And got away with it. Because the Democrat mayors told the police to stand down, just let them do what they got to do. Let them get it out of their system. Well, that's enabling them. If you're not held responsible, there's no consequences for your actions, it's going to be repeated and repeated and repeated until the consequences outweigh doing it. But we have too many people in this country that don't have common sense and can't realize that when somebody like me gets blunt and honest with you, we're not a bigot for saying it. In fact, those that aren't saying it, that's who I got the problem with. And that's on both sides of the aisle, Republicans too. Why is everybody afraid to address the real root causes and problems in this country today? And instead, we got places like over in California where they were never allowed to have slaves in the first place, with a reparations task force made up of a bunch of black people coming up with dumbass ideas like we're going to give every black person here $1 million. It's never going to happen. Oh, so the new thing that I poured on just last Tuesday, we're going to allow black people to no longer be responsible for paying child support because it's holding the black man down. You're fucking holding your whole race down by doing this shit, by not holding them accountable. What's that say for the black woman that's got to raise his kids? That the deadbeat fucking dad is better off than she is? Why is it that nobody has the fucking balls to stand up and say what I'm saying? And they know it's true. They know it's true. It's factual information, for crying out loud. Just stop listening to MSNBC and CNN, for crying out loud these days. Stop listening to Fox News. Because they're going to lie to you. They're going to sugarcoat stuff. They don't want you to know the truth. And the truth is, you ready for this? Drum roll. We don't have a white suppression problem bringing black people down. We have a epidemic of black on black crime with our youth. And it's happening every single minute across this nation. Sponsored by who? The Democrat Party that I used to proudly belong to. They're the racist bigots in this society today. They're the founders of the KKK. They were 100% for segregation. We do not want to mix blacks and whites together. Hell no. Joe Biden is even on the bus saying that shit back when he was a member of Congress. They're the same people that supported and to this day still support Planned Parenthood. And their whole envision was to eliminate the black race. But yet they want you to believe that it's the white man holding the black man down. It's a lie. The cops aren't racist. The cops aren't waking up every day with the first thought enters your mind, I wonder how many black innocent youth I can go out and shoot today. But they turn this whole thing into a war against members of law enforcement. They want people that are white to feel ashamed. The trans movement wants people that are straight to feel ashamed. Fuck y'all. I'm not ashamed for shit. I'm proud to be white. I'm proud to be an alpha male that doesn't give a shit about you pussies out there that run your mouth and don't have any way of backing up your actions and just like to trash talk other people. When I go after you on this platform, you deserve it. And that's why it's been successful. People realize the truth. And I wish more and more people would stand up and do what I'm doing. Now, have I taken some hits for it? You bet your ass I have. The left has done some horrible, crazy, just absolute criminal shit towards me and my family. I have to have security for me and my family to do anything or go anywhere because of the death threats. Hell, just 2 years ago, I was at a speaking engagement in Pensacola, Florida, and we had to hire off-duty Pensacola police officers to keep me from being shot by people that wanted to kill me because they don't want the truth out there. I'm going to continue to spread the truth, and I'm going to continue to shove it down everybody's throat that will listen to me. If I lose my life in the process, it's God's will. We can't stay here, and to leave, we have to die. I don't want to go anytime soon, but I'm starting to believe that if my faith is correct, heaven's a hell of a lot better than this place, which is damn near close to hell. Folks, you had many places to be tonight, chose to be here with me. Thank you. I appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Tell your friends and family about it. Share my videos, my live shows when they go up as a regular video. The description of this show and all my videos, you can see the places on social media. You can follow me. Follow me there. I do the same for you. That's how we spread the conservative values. And we let people know about what's true and what's bullshit being fed to them by our own damn government. Also, the website is, I looked at it a while ago before I came on tonight, and it appeared to be back online. So I sent out a text message to the person that's taking care of all this for me. I haven't heard back yet. So I was going to tell you tonight that it's safe to go back on there, but I don't know. I haven't heard back yet, so I'll find out soon. But hopefully it will be up and running perfectly good by Saturday. And that's douglasducote.com. Other than that, if there's something breaks over the weekend between now and next Tuesday, I'll be sure to do a video about it or do a live show about it. Be safe, whatever you're doing tonight, whatever you're going to do this weekend. And think. Use your brain. Think about what's happening around you and what's happening around us. Trust me. Read between the lines. You better get prepared. And I'll leave it at that for now. As always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families, our angel families, our blue and gold star families, and our country. May God bless the United States of America. Thank you all. Thank you for being here tonight. And God bless you. I'll see you soon.